Breaker of this world's chain, we adore thee, whom all men love. Spotless, taking man's form, O purifier, thou art above the Buddha's stream. Knowledge divine, not flesh, thou whom the cosmos wears, a diamond at its heart. Let us look deep in thine eyes. They are bright with the wisdom of God that can wake us from Maya's spell. Let us hold fast to thy feet, treading the waves of the world to safety. O drunk with love, God drunken lover, in thee all paths of all yogas meet. Lord of the worlds, thou art ours, who wert born a child of our time, easy of access to us. O merciful, if we take any hold upon God in our prayer, it is by thy grace alone, since all thine austerities were practiced for our sake. How great was thy sacrifice, freely choosing thy birth in this prison, our iron age, to unchain us and set us free. Perfect, whom lust could not tame, nor passion nor gold draw near. O Master of all renounce, fill our hearts full of love for thee. Thou hast finished with fear and with doubt, standing firm in the vision refuge to all who have cast fame, fortune, and friends away. Without question thou shelterest us, and the world's great sea in its wrath seems shrunk to the puddle that fills the hoofprint in the clay. Speech cannot hold thee, nor mind, yet without thee we think not, nor speak. Love, who art partial to none, we are equal before thy sight. Taker away of our pain, we salute thee, though we are blind. Come to the heart's black cave, and illumine, thou light of the light.
Om Namo Bhagavate Ramakrishnaya. Today is the blessed day of Swami Subodhananda Maharaj, direct disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, who was simple and guileless. We give the example like a child. But it's more than that. Sri Ramakrishna says that those who have practiced spiritual disciplines in their past births become simple and guileless in the present birth. And it speaks about the purity of mind and the absence of egoism. He was born Subodh Chandra Ghosh in 1867, November. His father was Krishnalal Ghosh and mother Nayantara. And they were devout, and they also owned the Siddheshwari Kali temple. That's a temple where Sri Ramakrishna used to frequent when he was staying in Calcutta. This temple still exists and draws a lot of devotees. He was calm, simple, and sweet, as well as being guileless, and also outspoken. He was sent to the Albert Collegiate School, as he was recognized as a brilliant student, gifted in mathematics. He once read a small book brought by his father, Sri Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa Ruktir, the sayings of Sri Ramakrishna, compiled by Suresh Chandra Datta. This was one of the first compilations of Sri Ramakrishna's teachings, and it moved him tremendously. So he and his friend decided to visit this Paramahamsa of Dakshineshwar. And one afternoon, they left for Dakshineshwar, and they walked all the way from Calcutta to Dakshineshwar. When they reached Dakshineshwar, he said to his friend, I have never before spoken to a monk. So he told his friend, you must first go ahead and engage the holy monk. I don't know the proper etiquette. His friend agreed, and he went in the master's room, who he found was seated on his bed. Subodh was standing out alone. Sri Ramakrishna pointed out to him and asked his friend, why is that gentleman standing so far away? Come here. And this encouraged the little boy to move closer. The master asked him, do you not belong to the family of Shankar Ghosh? Subodh was surprised and said, yes, but how did you know it? Well, Sri Ramakrishna says, when I was staying at Jamapukur, I often visited your home as well as your Kali temple at Tantania. That was before you were born. I knew you would come here. Well, the Divine Mother sends here only those who will attain spirituality. You belong to this place. Subodh replied, Sir, if I belong to this place, why did you not call me earlier? The master replied smilingly, look here, everything happens at the right time. You will attain the goal. Mother says so. He asked Subodh to sit on his bed. Subodh remonstrated. I can't sit on your bed. This is my school clothing and it's not fresh. However, I've touched so many people on the way and my feet are dusty. The master insisted and he made him sit on his bed. You are my very own. What does it matter whether your cloth is clean or not? After a while, Subodh once again returned to the place on the floor. So here, this was the first meeting. And Subodh obviously says, I am impressed by your readings, your teachings. They are really remarkable. You are such a great soul and so famous. These words brought a sudden change in Ramakrishna's mood. With a humility that amazed the boys, he said, I am lower than a worm. Name and fame, ridiculous. Really, I am more insignificant than a worm. Mothers sends here those who will receive a grace. So you come here on Tuesdays or Saturdays. So the following Saturday, both of them reached Dakshineshwar. The place was crowded with visitors, and they were peeping from outside the room. Sri Ramakrishna asked the devotees to keep sitting, and he left the room, took the boys with him to the Shiva temple. So he asked Rakal also to bring a little Ganga water, really wash his hands. He sat cross-legged on the floor and asked the boys to sit down also. He then bade them unbutton their shirts and stick out their tongues. The master first wrote something with his finger on Subodh's friend, Shirod's tongue, and stroked his body from the navel to the throat. He did the same to Subodh also, saying, awake, mother, awake. Then he told them to meditate. That touch awakened Subodh's latent spirituality. No sooner had he begun to meditate than his whole body trembled and he felt a current rushing along his spinal column to his brain. An ineffable joy overwhelmed him, and he saw a strange light within him in which the forms of numerous gods and goddesses flashed. His meditation deepened, and the boy lost all external consciousness as well as his personal identity. When he regained consciousness, he found the master stroking his body in the reverse direction, from the head downwards. Well, the master said, you have practiced meditation at home? Very little, replied the boy. I used to think a little of gods and goddesses, since I've heard of them from my mother. Ah, the master said, that's why you could concentrate so easily. That was his initiation. And he used to discuss things very freely with the master. One day, Subodh informed the master about his fear of ghosts. And Sri Ramakrishna pressed his thumbnail between Subodh's eyebrows. From then on, he could see a soft white light over his forehead. And that permanently destroyed his fear of ghosts. He told his mother once about this. And his mother said, you're fortunate, but don't divulge it to others. You will lose it if you do so. Well, Subodh says, what harm could it do to me, mother? It's not the light I want, but that from which it comes from. He used to encourage the young boy to visit the other disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. He introduced him to Sashi and Sharat, who later became Swami Shardananda and Swami Ramakrishnananda. He also told him to visit M's house, which was nearby. Subodh replied, he hasn't been able to renounce his family, and what could I learn about God from him? Immediately, the master said with a laugh, oh, Rakal, did you hear what this rascal child is called Khoka, lovingly? The boy has said. But he was pleased to see the young boy's stern renunciation. And he informed him, he won't talk about himself, he will only tell you what he has learned from me. And that began his lifelong, you can say, friendship with the master's disciple called M. Sri Ramakrishna was finishing during this time the divine play at the Kali temple. He put all his energy in training the young boys. Sometimes Subodh would arrive at Dakshineshwar in noon, having walked all the way. So the master could not bear them so hot and sweating. He used to fan them. At times he used to do that, and once he kept fanning Subodhan, and which Subodhananda was objecting vehemently. On one occasion, the master touched Subodh's body and blessed him. Today I have taken away the lust from your mind. And when you asked to do little japa and meditation, he said, sir, I won't be able to do that. If I have to practice meditation, why should I come to you? I may as well go to some other guru. Understanding his inner feeling, the master said, all right, you will not have to practice meditation, but think of me in the morning and the evening. But we won't go away with the idea that he never practiced meditation. He was a great meditator. Subodh learnt about the various aspects of spiritual life also from him. One day he asked the master, I have read about gods and goddesses in books and heard about them from various people. Can one really see them? Sri Ramakrishna replied, one can see God as one sees two persons talking or walking together. But one can see God, but one should call on God from the bottom of one's heart. Pray and cry for him. Demand his vision as children demand toys from their parents. Remove all worldly desires from the mind, and always remember, I have a mother and I am a child. On another occasion, the master told him, those who shall attain spiritual experiences will feel comfortable with my ideas and teachings. One who has faith in me has faith in God. And again, one who does not have faith in me does not have faith in God either. Sometimes the Master would say the Divine Mother herself has come to visit this world in human form, meaning himself. When people of all sects assemble here, this body will not last. He loved to drink tea. And during one of his visits to the Master, he told him, "Sir, you used to live in a damp room in Dakshineshwar. As a result, it seemed you have a sore throat. So, please take tea. Whenever we have sore throats, we drink tea, and the sore throat goes away. If you want, I'll bring some good tea from my house." So the Master told Rakhal Maharaj, "Look, Rakhal, this boy, Khoka, wants to get me tea." Rakhal said, no, the tea is very hot. It might aggravate your throat." So that was the end of trying to convince Sri Ramakrishna to drink tea. One time in Dakshineshwar, in Kashipur, during Sri Ramakrishna's last days, it was extremely difficult for the Master to talk. One day, Subodh said to him, "Sir, if you wish, you can get well. Please cure yourself." The Master then told me, "Do you really believe that?" "Yes, I do believe that." Sri Ramakrishna said, "What you have said is true, but I shall not try to save this body this time. Whatever is created is subject to destruction." Then he told Subodh, "Promise that you will never ask me this question again." And that was, again, failing to convince Sri Ramakrishna. After Sri Ramakrishna passed away, Subodhananda and Brahmananda, they went on a pilgrimage together, but at Baranagar Mutt. So they were quite, you can say, friendly with each other. And one night he knew Latu Maharaj, Adbhutananda, used to meditate the whole night. So he, on his mosquito curtain, he kept a soaking wet cloth. And that water began to drip on Latu Maharaj's head. Latu first became frightened because that monastery was supposed to be haunted. After discovering the mischief maker, Swami Adbhutananda said, "Sharat," that is Swami Shardana, "look, this rascal Khoka is trying to frighten me." He had various experiences during his itinerant days. Once on his way, he slept under a tree because there was no other place to rest. In the middle of the night, saying he saw an old woman telling me, "Get up from here. Because of you, the snakes are unable to get out from their holes. Go forward a little and you'll find a police station. You can spend the night there." And he spoke to her, "Will they let me stay there?" "Oh yes, they will." And he did. Next morning, the villagers told him that this place was infested with cobras. And when asked, "Who was that woman?" the Swami replied, "Oh, it was the Divine Mother." He traveled the length and breadth of the country. And when Swami Vivekananda came from his return from first visit to the West, Swami Subodhana, as we know, loved to drink tea. One night at Belur Mutt, Swami Vivekananda was meditating in his room. Brahmananda and Subodhananda were sleeping in the next room. When the Swami finished his meditation, he woke up Subodhananda and asked if he could mind bringing him his pipe. Subodhananda did so, and Vivekananda was so pleased that he exclaimed impulsively. That is, he prepared the tobacco and lit it and gave it to Swami Vivekananda. Swamiji says, "Any boon you ask for shall be granted." "What could I possibly ask for?" said Subodhananda. "The Master has given us everything." But Brahmananda, who surreptitiously came from behind, said, No, Kaka, you asked for something." So Subodhananda, after a little deliberation, carefully considered and said, "Grant me this, that I may never for the rest of my life miss my daily cup of tea." And that was, so when asked, Subodhananda was asked about, did the boon really work? "Oh yes," he said. "Somehow or the other, I used to always get my cup of tea. But sometimes it never used to be in the morning, but late in the evening or at night." Subodhananda once was asked about Trailinga Swami. He was a great soul who lived in Benares. "Who is greater, Trailinga Swami or Swamiji?" Subodhananda replied, "Trailinga Swami was the greatest amongst men, but Swamiji was Shiva himself. And if anybody criticized Swamiji before the Master, he would say, 'Here the Lord Shiva has been criticized. Sprinkle a little Ganga water here in order to purify it.'" In the early days of Belur Monastery, Subodhananda worked in the vegetable garden with Advaitananda. And he planted a lot of flowers and fruit trees and vegetables. He would travel all over India and also bring different seeds for Belur Math. Belur Math was his very favorite place. In his later years, he was reluctant to go anywhere else. Once when someone suggested that he go to a health resort to recuperate, he said, "It's better to live on rice and spinach at Belur Math than to have good food somewhere else." And when he used to go to Vivekananda's temple every day, and used to say, "Worshipping Swamiji is like worshipping the Lord Shiva." He was self-reliant and would not accept any personal service from others. He was always, you can say, direct, and his spiritual life also was like that approach, direct, marked by simplicity. He used to say, "God can be realized much more tangibly than one feels the presence of a companion." Towards the end, he once went to an ashram in Jamtara, which is now in Chhattisgarh, and he fell ill. His attendant was nursing and fanning him. Suddenly he said, "Please move away from the bed. The Master, Holy Mother, and Swami Brahmananda have come. Can't you see them?" So later, Subodhananda said to his attendant, the Master told him that he would be cured very soon. A few days before his passing away, Subodhananda said to his attendant, "Swami Shivananda was telling me, I pray to the Master that you get well and live many more years. But I don't want to live anymore. I had a dream in the early morning the other day that I saw that I had left my body. I saw Swamis Brahmananda, Premananda, and Yogananda, but I didn't see Swamiji. I asked them, 'Please tell me, where is Swamiji?' They replied, 'He is not here. He is far, far above, absorbed in God. It does not matter that he is far away. I am going to meet him.' Saying so, I left to find him. Then my sleep broke. I experienced tremendous joy there. They are living in a blissful place. It's hard to come back from there. All pain and suffering are here in this world, not there. One day he prayed to the Master, "Enough, please take me along." The Master replied, "Wait for a few more days." Then he says, "If anybody would ask me about my suffering and pain," Subodhananda would reply, "When I think of the Master, I forget all physical suffering." He passed away on December 2, 1932. An hour before his death, he looked intently at a picture of Sri Ramakrishna, and then suddenly his face glowed with a smile. A monk asked, "Swami, can you see the Master?" He nodded his head because his eyeballs turned from left to right as if searching for someone. He smiled and passed away in early afternoon. The monks chanted Jai Sri Ramakrishna. That was the life of Swami Subodhananda. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu.